I will go for a beautiful place, a place where everyone calls for peace. So young, so beautiful, a smile on my face. Got my dreams inside, the future's bright, and everyone calls for love. Everything's mapped out, I'm blessed and proud, and ready to impress the crowd. I will call for justice and equality. I will call for peace, and I'll never let go humanity. I will call for love. Oh, I call for a beautiful South Sudan. I call for a beautiful South Sudan. A beautiful South Sudan. A beautiful South Sudan. I call for a beautiful South Sudan.
Yeah, I'm writing this beautiful poem for South Sudan. So let my feelings fly out. My mama land, through all the graves with a famous country in the world. I know the angels blowing trumpet is heaven call. Now we got museum of our heroes in a happy soul. It's meant to be told. That's why Columbus wanted to take us, we was never sold.
Hey, whatever they do to you, whatever they do to you, you'll always be a beautiful South. I will go for a beautiful place, a place where everyone calls for peace. So young, so beautiful, a smile on my face. Got my dreams inside, the future's bright, and everyone calls for love. Everything's mapped out, I'm blessed and proud, and ready to impress the crowd. I will call for justice and equality. I will call for peace, and I'll never let go humanity. I will call for love. Oh, I call for a beautiful South Sudan.
Be here, this university, once again. As I said from the beginning, words of thanks and appreciation to our Vice Chancellor, professors, and the leadership of this university for giving me this honor, not only to me, but to me and the country, men and women, to come and join you here in this hall. And my mission here is mainly to come to engage with the Australian government in the process of our government aiming at establishing a strong, promising relations with this great country. And I'm pleased to announce to you that I have a successful mission in Canberra and other cities, and I will continue with the same journey and assignment and instructions given to me by the government in Western Australia, and travel to Melbourne and then return back to Beijing. I'll be coming in and out, and today is my first time to come to this university. And I'd like to assure you, Professor Dr. Richard, that by attending today's meeting, I feel I'm home. I feel this university belongs to me. I feel this university is part of South Sudan, and I feel this university is home to South Sudan. South Sudanese, and also our government. So I'd like to reassure you that I will be working closely with you, with the rest of your colleagues. I also taken note of your invitation for me to join the upcoming forum. I'd like to accept this invitation, and I will fulfill my presence in this important forum. While acknowledging these important facts, South Sudan is a new and the youngest country in the world, and I believe all of you are aware of that. And as I said to the professor today, that the people of South Sudan are not young. We have talented people, we have blessed people, and the good example for our good people is the presence of our big community here in this country. So today, I'll be sharing with you this information. This is the scope of my presentation to you. Some information about our country, government structure, our natural resources briefly, and then I'll go and share with you the current political and economic situation back home, and we'll continue to share with you some existing laws and opportunities of investment in the country. We already had most of them. And I will go straight to South Sudan-Australia relations, the background, the current status, and then the perspective of the areas of our cooperation. In brief introduction, as I mentioned, South Sudan is the nearest country in the world, and the country is blessed with tremendous natural resources. The country is blessed with people who are very hospitable, people who are very lovely, the tallest people in the world. No argument about that. And then we are also a multicultural, multi-ethnic society living in harmony. And despite the challenges that the country faces, which the government is putting an effort to put an end to that. The country also is divided into, or has 64 ethnic groups living in harmony. We are one of the biggest African countries. Before the independence, of course, Sudan was the biggest. And after the independence, we have an area of 644,329 kilometers square. This is a very big land. With a population of 13 million people. But this 13 million is a disputed population figure. I believe our number is bigger than that. And we are neighboring our good friend here, Kenya. And we are very proud to be friends with Kenya. We are neighboring also Uganda. I was telling my sister, Dr. Gora, today that my hometown is 20 kilometers to a beautiful city or town in Uganda called Moyo. So you can see this is also another fact that we, as an African diplomats, are trying to tell our partners to know the integration and the importance of us, African, as one nation. We are also bordering DRC, Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, Central African Republic, Ethiopia, including our former country, Sudan. South Sudan, after the independence, we are very proud of the role the Australian government played and our citizens in Australia played in terms of our referendum. All over the world, no single group of our citizens around the world who participated effectively, who voted warmly like you. So I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of the government to congratulate our citizens in this country for what you have did and for what you are voting for independence would make us who we are today. This will remain in our history, and we are proud of you and will remain proud of you. After our independence, our government, of course, established objectives, and we started engaging different partners around the world with an aim of meeting the needs of our people, with an aim of establishing our nation. And I'm very happy that today, you as South Sudanese, we can move proudly around the world as son or daughter of that beautiful country. We have our passport, we have our system in place, and we have our sovereignty, and we have an independent country. Yes, we have challenges. Building a nation is not an easy thing. We cannot do it alone as a government. We can do it together with you who are outside and our brothers and sisters who are inside. We can do it together with our partners around the world. And I'm happy that one of our great partners in Australia is Australia. And my presence here is a clear justification that Australia is our great partner. Before I proceed to the objectives of our government, part of this video, look at these beautiful pictures around. I believe if you go to the internet, you type South Sudan, then you hear stories. The stories that were published, according to me, from what we call the enemies of Sudan, South Sudan. The stories that were published from those whom I call them the enemies of peace around the world, including my country. But this is part of the beauty of our country. Imagine such country if we get support from the world, and if we get a genuine and faithful support from the international community, how will it look like? We're struggling, but we are working hard as a government to bring back our partners. The partners who made us who we are. And I believe some of you who participated in the struggle, some of you who have been in uniform, some of you who understand the meaning of gun, the meaning of being a soldier, the meaning of being a Red Army, they will understand what I mean. We are trying our best to get our old traditional partners back close to us for us to continue building our country. And I would like to also say that I'm proud, standing here, that this is part of our efforts. To come to Australia, it's one of our traditional partners, it's one of our historical partners, to put hands together and build our country. And when I start talking about our relation with Australia, you will know that Australia is our traditional partner. You will know that Australia is our historical partner. And the history of our relation with this country will fill your hearts and minds with joy. And you will feel proud being South Sudanese in this country. Australia is part of us, and Australia is part of our struggle. And I'll explain this in the second part. This is part of our tourism. This is our river Nile, which is the second largest river, not only in South Sudan, not only in Africa, in the world. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not good in geography, but my early ages or years of geography reminding me that the river Nile is the second largest river in the world, after Amazon River of South America. Some professors may correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the beauty. This river originated from the hometown of Dr. Ebola, for those who don't know, from next Victoria. Look at this beautiful giraffe. You can stand next to it, half a meter, and you will see it's just moving and smiling. Look at this, it is just in the forest. And I've taken this picture by myself 1 year ago when I was in Yambio. I was touched in our borders with Congo. You see mangoes, fruits are just down. I see our women and girls going to market, carrying mangoes, hundreds in their heads, staying there for hours, no customers, and dropping this thing down and go home. You can just imagine if we translated these efforts into the added value material to benefit our people, our government, and also our partners. The mango I'm referring to, you can see, I think, on the other side. And with the next, yes, look at this. And these are women. Nobody buys from them. They throw it down. It's an opportunity that can be translated to Jews or any other thing. This is natural. It's not something created by Google or something or TikTok. This is the reality. No science. I'm happy, Professor. I mean, today when we talk about us working together with this university to develop the agricultural sector, this is avocado. And this is mango. And then look at this. Now a quick one. This is our central bank. People, if you see the buildings in South Sudan in the media, you will not imagine that is in the country. This is our National Oil Corporation. And the central bank we have, I think it is defined to be one of the biggest central banks in the region, in the Eastern Africa. But you go and say on buildings in South Sudan, type it now, you will see houses that my grandfather never used it. But we have beautiful buildings in our capital and in our cities. Now, I've just decided to show you this for you to know that we are trying our best as a government to put things in place despite the challenges. And that country is existing. it can exist to the best happiness of the rest if we get support from our traditional brothers and sisters. I've already talked about this. Our independence was on 9th July 2011. Population have already spoken about it. This is our map, this is our flag. Beautiful national anthem. When you sing with the spirit of being patriotic, you will feel your heart will be full of joy. The meanings, the wordings, and the sound of this national anthem. It's my wish to sing this year, but we have protocols of singing the national anthem. This is our Quran. Very beautiful. Brother Richard, I'll give you a copy of this national anthem. And I'll examine you the next time when you need it. Thank you. Government structure, sorry, there is a mistake in the spelling, structure and objectives. We are like any other country, we are implementing presidential system of governance, whereby our president, His Excellency General Salva Kiir Mayardit, is the head of the state and at the same time the head of the government. And the system is existing in a very smooth, practical manner. We have a decentralized system of governance also, whereby the country is divided into 10 states and 3 special administrative areas. Again, in the structure of the government, we have a legislature, which is also divided into 2. The upper house, we call it Council of State, and the lower house, we call it the National Legislative Assembly. And all these were constituted based on the revitalized peace agreement which was signed in 2015 and then revitalized in 2018. Because as I said from the beginning, the country was descended into war as a result of some political differences between our leaders, and we have signed an agreement to stop the war, and we revitalized this agreement, which brought into practice these 2 houses, the upper house and the lower house. In the judicial system, we have also an independent judicial system in the country, whereby statutory law is existing, mixed together with some practices within our communities, and mainly the customary law, which is also applicable in our courts. After our independence, we as a government, we put in place some objectives. The list of objectives is too long, but just to mention some of them. As I say, judicial system, independent with statutory and customary law existing, upper house and then the lower house. And the objectives of our government, as I say, the list is too long. But just to mention a few, to attain and moderate prosperity to the people of South Sudan, reduction and eradication of poverty, to guarantee equitable distribution of wealth and power, promotion of democratic principles, good governance, and political plurality. And again, as part of our objective as a government, initiation of process of reconciliation, healing, as to promote harmony, unity, and peaceful coexistence because of the challenges that the country went through, maintenance of law and order, and upholding fundamental basic human rights, promotion of culture, peace, and tolerance between our communities, empowerment of people, women, and youth, provision of basic social services to our people, education, health, clean drinking water, among others, promotion and development of national economy with a main focus on areas such as agriculture, minerals, infrastructure, telecommunication, innovation, among others. Implementation of a comprehensive capacity building program in SNU country. We believe that we need to develop our skills, and I'm very grateful that today I've shared this concern with the Vice Chancellor, who responded positively, and we will complete the process through our engagement with the related departments in the university. In terms of the economy and natural resources, the economy of South Sudan is predominantly rural-based and subsistent in nature. In the meantime, the oil industry is the main industry for our national revenue, but we as a government, we are also working hard to develop other sectors. On top of these sectors, agriculture, minerals, and other areas. Forestry, you have seen, we have a very large forestry, covers almost 29% of our land is forest. It is not being commercialized. The banking system, we have the advanced banking system following the international practices with a few challenges, mainly in the area of infrastructure, e-commerce, in which we are working with our government, with our partners to develop. Livestock, you have seen. The livestock, you have seen in the video. I don't want to go into details. We have more than 31 million heads of cattle, one of the leading countries in Africa. Unfortunately, most of these are not yet being commercialized. My brothers know this very well. I believe my brother Peter and John may have more than 3,000 staying there. We are going to convince you to put hands together with us as government for us to commercialize. Fisheries is another area for natural resources in which you have seen the video, and some of our people are saying that the fish in South Sudan, especially in the specific areas, are dying because of old age. They are nobody is fishing them. When it's raining, you will find them coming out. It's another area that I believe we can be able to work together with our partners. Industry is still in the early stage of development. We're almost not manufacturing, and that's what is actually affecting our economy. And that's what actually creating challenges related to inflation in the country. That's what is actually affecting our GDP. And I believe if you have economies here in this hall, you will understand what I mean. But we as a government, we are trying also to develop the industrial sector with the hope that it will also meet our needs. The current political situation back home, the country is stable. We have peace in place. We are implementing the peace. What we are hearing in the news is not reflecting the real situation back home. I have some videos, as I mentioned in our meeting today with the Vice Chancellor. During my presence in Australia here, I was shocked to hear that important, old, well-experienced media houses are publishing such kind of information. But I'm happy that during my presence in Canberra, I met some of the leaders of these media houses, and I presented the case to them in a very amicable and friendly manner, not in a way of complaining. Because they say, I'm a new ambassador, it's not good to start my work with complaint. So I presented in a very amicable manner. And these media houses welcome my argument, welcome my ideas, and they declare their readiness to promote South Sudan. This is an honor to us as a country, it's an honor to us as a government. And that's what is taking me back again to Canberra, to have a comprehensive interview with them, so that at least they can now publish the real information about South Sudan. I'm not saying that they publish, 100% things which are not for South Sudan, but most of the things are referred to South Sudan which are not really for South Sudan. So we are looking forward and also to working closely with the media houses here for them at least to know more about South Sudan. So the current situation, there's peace in the place. We are preventing the peace. We graduated our joint forces together with our opposition to sustain security in the country. We have also one command of our army, which our president is the commander-in-chief. This is also an achievement. All the other forces of the opposition are working with us. We have two groups who are still outside, and we are engaging them. They are not a threat to the government. We decided as a government not to confront them militarily because our president has taken an initiative that we don't want us to go back again to war. We want us to embrace peace in the country and engage our brothers in dialogue. So we are engaging them in Italy, and soon we'll be engaging them in Kenyan capital for them to join the peace process. Economic situation, the country is affected like any other country during the COVID, and also the war that happened in the country a few years ago affected the country. At the moment, our oil industry is declining, but we are working hard with our partners to look into it that we increase the production to enable us to meet the needs of our people. And I'm happy also that I received assurances from the Australian government here that they will support my efforts of bringing Australia to be part of our development, of bringing Australia to support our oil industry and mineral industry and agriculture. Oil industry is one of our potential area of investment, and we are encouraging people to help us with that. Minerals, of course, we have potential in mineral. We have different type of minerals. I don't want to go into this, but we are looking forward to get partners to help us in this area. Agriculture is one of our potential that we want to work with our partners, agriculture and agro industry. Infrastructural development, roads, bridges, telecommunication, hydropower, solar power, manufacturing, as I mentioned, healthcare, real estate, education, service delivery, insurance, capacity building, among others. And in the process, we as a government, there's also specific areas in the oil industry. Development of a local refinery and fuel storage capacity is we are in urgent need of that. Development of oil and gas exploration and production, we also in urgent need of that. Development of oil and gas refineries and also the pipelines, we are also in urgent need of that. And then, because at the moment we are using the pipeline taking us to Sudan, but we are also looking forward to look for another alternative pipeline to support our oil industry. The list of the opportunities is very long. We developed some policies to support and encourage investors to invest in the country. For example, establishment of South Sudan Investment Authority, which is an authority that is actually facilitating the investment, development of investment laws and regulations, equal treatment of opportunities for foreigners and domestic investors, and then also the repatriation of profits. So we also facilitate transfer of profits from the country to overseas. As I mentioned, the opportunities of investment in the country is long, and we are looking forward as a country to promote these opportunities and to translate these opportunities to the best knowledge or the best benefit of our country and our part. Tourism, we have seen it already, it's a great potential, but the tourism sector in South Sudan is still in the early stage of development. We have actually one of the leading African countries when you talk of tourism. Wild animals, for example, immigration, Tanzania is taking the lead. A lot of people are saying Kenya is number 2, but the fact is that South Sudan is number 2. Kenya oversees us because of the infrastructure, and we are happy that as a government we are working closely to see to it that we develop the tourism sector. Let me go briefly on our relation with Australia. This is a very important part of this discussion, and I am really happy to be here and share with you some of my views, the policies of my government, and related to our relation with Australia. Many of you in this hall may agree with me that Australia is a very important country, not only to South Sudan, but when we talk of what is happening in the world, Australia is a very important country. And again, I personally define Australia, from my own readings, as a medium-sized power. When I say medium power, I'm looking into the global powers around the world. And the history indicates the role of Australia around the world is very clear and very positive in terms of sustaining democracy, sustaining rights of other people, and also helping other people to get their rights. Again, Australia of course is one of the leading economies of the country in the world. If I'm not mistaken, I think ranking number 14th, if not 13th, worldwide. And I believe the new data or the new research or the new report will take Australia to the next step, which is better than its own position now. So economically, it is one of the leading economies around the world. We in Africa, also our history indicates that Australia never colonized any of the African countries. That is the fact, including my own. We're a British-based colony, but Australia never colonized us. And they support Australia extended to different African countries to sustain or to establish democracy, to establish a better life for its people, is also well recorded worldwide. The best example to start with before I go to my country is South Africa. South Africa, during the apartheid regime, assisted and helped, Australia helped South Africa in different areas. And I believe late Nelson Mandela was here. He did a lot of political engagement. Desmond Tutu was here. Walter Sisulu was here. And Oliver Tambo also was here. And many of the leaders from the ANC, African National Congress, which is the revolutionary movement in South Africa, they were here. And that also justified the presence of South Africans here as, according to my record, as the largest African community in this country. Not only that, from the early stage of ANC, according to my research, the Australian government managed to recognize ANC in 1984. The recognition of ANC as a revolutionary, African revolutionary movement in this country is an honor to us as Africans. And it's also, it paved the way to us to be here. And that is the starting point, too, for the large number of your presence here. Because after the ANC, the second revolutionary movement to be acknowledged, to be recognized, to be supported by the Australian government was the SPLM, which is our ruling party. This is a very important information for us as a country that came out as a result of the revolutionary movement. Again, the SPLM in the early ages of the revolution were having engagements with Australia. Not only this, when we still part and parcel of Sudan, and that is what I can refer to the beginning of our relations when I say historical background. In 1887, when we still part or colonized by colony of British, I believe some of you here may have known the President of Gordon and the killing of Gordon during the Mahdiya revolution in Sudan, when we still part and parcel of Sudan. That is the beginning of a real engagement between us and Australia, more than 100 years ago. So the beginning of our relation is not with me now. It started 100 years ago when we still part and parcel of Sudan. Not only that, then during the Mahdiya revolution, many of my countrymen and women may agree with me that Mahdiya revolutionary managed to defeat our British colony partially by the killing of Gordon. And when Gordon was killed, here comes the involvement of Australia. British administration in London sent Lord Kitchener to come and restore law and order, what they call law and order, because Gordon was killed in the middle of Khartoum, and Kitchener was sent to come and restore law and order. And because Australians are in love of that country, and they're in love of law and order, the history also tells us that forces were sent from New South Wales to go and support Kitchener. To do what? To restore law and order. 1887. Long time. However, you know, the distance, during that time we don't have jets and good fast ship to take people. People have to move through different ways and slowly. They arrived Sudan by then in 2 years of this decision, 1889. Unfortunately, the forces who went from here to support our people in Sudan, to restore law and order in Sudan from New South Wales, Sydney of today, they could not manage to engage in a war with the Sudanese revolution. And many of you are aware also that the success of Al-Mahdiya revolution was because of South Sudanese. Many people from South Sudan, many people from Nuba, many people from Darfur were part and parcel of the Al-Mahdiya revolution. So they couldn't engage in war because Lord Kitchener was so fast, Lord Kitchener was supported, and Lord Kitchener defeated Al-Mahdiya revolutionary in one of the famous battles in our history of Sudan, Al-Karari battle, in which most of the leaders and commanders of Mahdi were killed. The forces who went from New South Wales, they suffered. And I understand they did not engage in war, but they suffered of the, I think, a snake bite, and the weather in the northern part of Sudan was unbelievable, too hot. So they lost some forces. So imagine somebody leaving from New South Wales, going to Sudan to restore law and order. We acknowledge that, and we appreciate that. Not only that, we are the second revolutionary movement after the establishment of SPLM to be recognized in Australia here by the Australian government. You know, as a government, as a sovereign government, you are not allowed to recognize a non-governmental institution or revolution. But we had that honor in 1988 to be officially recognized by the Australian government. And I'm happy that I've got documents of the recognition of the SPLM. And immediately, not only recognition, the Australian government decided to give us a beautiful office, 1988, in South Australia, in Adelaide, in the center of the city, and that house is still there. And it's my wish that it will always remain there. It's my wish for you who are here to visit that house. And as a result, our late chairman, Dr. Garen, wrote a very fantastic letter, which I hope also some of you can read, especially who are here, and to see how he valued the relation between us and Australia. How we value Australia to be one of the leading countries in the early stage of our revolution, to recognize SPLM, which is a revolutionary movement, not a government, to have an office here, and to have access to everything, to even have a bank account. Unfortunately for you who are here, when we established the Leisure office, you're having issues of having a bank account. This is because geopolitics interfere between our loving historians with Australia, according to my analysis. Because I can ask why, when we are revolutionaries, we don't have a government, we have a bank here. We can have a transaction from Sydney to New York, to Nairobi, but when we are a government of Southern Sudan, we had difficulties to open an account to my senior ambassador, Mariano, It was so tough. We had to go through corners and corners and have to be restricted. This is a challenging moment. For me, I define it a challenging moment as a result of some elements that does not want us to be close to each other interfering. But that has gone. And again, 2010, of course, most of you are here, we have an existing liaison office here. And we appreciate this also from Australian government, for them giving us that honor to have a liaison office which is actually working like an embassy here and facilitating a lot of things to our people in this country. Not only that, again, I was touched in the history of our relations when I met His Excellency the Governor General. Talked to me about the history of our engagements, talked to me about his personal experience in South Sudan, and even describing to me one of our beautiful cities, home, which he personally visited. So the Governor General was involved, and he interacted with our government official involved, and he also learned a lot of things about our culture involved. When he was sharing with me the stories, it was touching. And again, in the history of our engagements, the current Vice Minister, who also shared with me a touching moments when I met him in Canberra. When I entered his office, here comes more than 7 or 8 pictures. The Vice Minister, at that age, as a young Australian, hugging many of our young girls and boys in Kumba. And I believe many of them are here. If you happen to get copies of that pictures, I believe some of you may have seen themselves there. That was a touching moment. A foreign minister of such a great country, a vice minister, having pictures of our own girls and boys and mothers hugging them in Kumba. These are touching stories. These are touching stories that we need to take it up and up. Again, I remember there was 3 or 6 Australian Catholic sisters, nuns, arrested in one of our liberated areas. And as a result, some of our soldiers who have taken laws into their hands, people are afraid that they will mistreat them. But our history also indicates that they were treated very nicely, and they were sent back to Australia. And when they arrived for Australia, they made a statement that they were in a liberated area in Southern Sudan, and they wished the Australian authorities, and the Catholic Church in Australia would allow them to go back again, because they want to serve the people of South Sudan. Why? Because they were treated very nicely with those soldiers, and because also they had some talks with the leader, whom they described that this is the Mandela of South Sudan. And that leader was our late chairman, Dr. Garan. They described him as a Mandela of South Sudan, and described him that as a person that if he's given a chance, he will be a great leader and he will meet the needs of Sudanese people. These are touching stories in our relations with Australia. I'm proud to share with you this, and the list of these touching stories are many. During the process of our referendum, many of you are aware that many children, mothers, and relatives of our current leaders, without mentioning names, they live here in this country. They still have homes here. They still have relatives here. This is a privilege to us. With this few background of our relations, I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank the Australian government for making Australia to be our home, to making Australia to be our second home, and also not only keeping our boys and girls here. You can see the examples. We have the best basketball team originated from here. We have one of the best and smart parliamentarians here, MPs, who is from our own. We have many researchers, lawyers, engineers. They are here serving this country, and not only serving this country, they are also serving our country. And now we, as a government, will try to put in place policies to make sure that we benefit from these skills that we witnessed and have seen here. Not to track them out totally from Australia, but we want them also to participate effectively into our nation building, because we believe we need them. Since the Australia need them, but we believe we need them more than Australia because of lack of good number of the skills that we believe we found them here. Again, in this regard, we are also very thankful for the support, as I say, of Australia to us. And if I ask why we have to be close to Australia, I believe with the remarks that I've given you, you may give good answers. You may write an essay that can get good marks from our brother, Professor Richard, and the rest. So thank you for that. Australia is a great partner. I can say why we have to be close to Australia, our historical background that I mentioned. We have to be close to it. Number two, I can say that being one of the leading economies in the country, in the world, as a new country, we have to be close to Australia. The support Australia gave us, our movement, the SPLM, it deserves to be our great partner. The support from Australia to our referendum, with the skills, Australia is one of the countries that opened this country for any South Sudanese to have easy access to exercise his or her rights for voting. And you know the results from Australia here, uncomparable to any other citizen of our country outside the country. These deserve thanks and deserve us to be here. And not only this, the technology that this country has in terms of developing the mineral sector, and I'm happy I'm in the land of minerals in this country. Western Australia is known with areas of expertise in developing the mineral sector. And we as a country with the great potential in mineral sector, I believe deserve us to be close to Australia to support our mineral sector, including petroleum. And the list of why we have to be close to Australia is also very long and very encouraging. And I believe that we have to be close to Australia and work close to Australia. Humanitarian support to us during the liberation and until now is very appreciated. And the immigration, and I was honored when I was in Sydney to meet one of the great men, Australian former Minister of Immigration. I think many of you may have known him, Mr. Philip Reynolds, who also shared with me his stories. And when we had a community meeting in Sydney, we gave him an honor. And I will not leave this honor at this stage. I will take the possibilities of continue honoring such people to the leadership of my country, for them to know that such kind of people, we need to continue to say thank you. Philip Brother played a very constructive role in our people to be part of this society. United Nations, Australia keeps sending positive letters to support the SPLM, to support the independence of South Sudan and United Nations family, and we are looking forward to continue in the same manner, to work closely with Australia to support them in the international arena and also continue asking them to support us. Establishment of formal relations, it started from the early months of our independence, September 2011. We signed an agreement to establish diplomatic relations. But as I say, my absence, or our absence here to have a full embassy was not because of some political reasons, but because of the challenges that the country went through. But my presence here now is a fulfillment to our promises and our good beginning of our relation with Australia. Bilateral engagements and the current status of our cooperation, we are looking forward to continue working closely with the Australian government to develop our oil industry, develop our agriculture, to develop our mineral sector, to train our people here, to have political exchanges, to support us in the international arena, to have external visits. We want to see leaders from Australia going to South Sudan, leaders from South Sudan to come here, and have good news to the rest of my countrymen and ladies and women here that we are working with Australian authorities for our first lady to visit this country. That will be an honor to us, and that will be an honor to Australia, and to be part of us encouraging other important visits to this country. The stories of our relation with Australia is very touching and very promising, and I'm very sure that our current engagement, our status of our relation will take us to the next level. It's my wish to talk long and long, but let me stop here. Let me also thank you and look forward to receiving questions and comments from you. Thank you.